And welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard Live. I am Precious Chukudi. We begin with the front pages of the papers this morning. Starting off with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with top manufacturers list woes, incurs 266 billion naira losses in 1 year. Rider says a plan for the price increase. Our cost of sales jumped 64%, and that's coming from Boa Foods. Economic grappling with cost push inflation, and that's coming from Adonri. NB Dangote orders intensify backward integration. You can see a photo story showing Nigeria delegation visits IMF. PDP, why Wiki was allowed into National Caucus meeting, and that's come from the Senate Minority Leader. Nigeria set to receive fresh $2.2 billion World Bank loan, and that's come from EDUN. Intrigues as a new Ganduje World Exco emerges, suspend national chairman. Edo Guber, Akoko Edo PDP stakeholders meet, plot victory for Igbo Dalo. On sports, we have a Super Eagle coach, Gusau, assures Nigerians will not wait in vain. Stories above Ondo Guber, protesters for ABC aspirant calls for primary cancellation. Okuama-Ewu identifies 11 persons killed by military, 113 houses destroyed, and the slam of fresh 151 billion naira suit against federal government, army, and police has court to direct that the federal government set up an independent inquiry, order police to take over investigation of invasion, killings, quash declaration of Epepo, others as wanted persons. DIA versus Olatunji, NPAN, NGE, MPO, Bond, CSOs, others referred disputes to Ombudsman. We take a look at the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian is leading with used vehicles. Import slumps 32% as dealers trade safety for survivor. Savage titles. We can see an infograph on that report. Condemnation trail Ondo APC Guber primaries. APC's internal crisis linger as another World Exco issues Ganduje fresh suspension. Appeal court entertains EFCC's alleged 80 billion naira fraud case against Bello today. Media organization refer Olatunji's case to Ombudsman. Stakeholders absolve no PRC of delaying $1.3 billion ExxonMobil asset deal. Bandit killed 6 soldiers, 2 vigilantes in Niger, civilians in Zamfara, Sokoto. Take a look at the Nation newspaper. The Nation is leading with Aida Tiwa declared Ondo APC candidate amid protests. Rider says aspirant kicks as governor wins in 16 councils. Akinteriwa in EFCC custody. Army vows to avenge killing of 2 officers, 4 soldiers in another ambush. Villagers fleeing from bandits move to government house. Ekiti teachers to get 138 million naira car housing loan. Poison Kwara shots abattoir. Federal government set to roll out CNG powered vehicles. Stories above. Olubadan appointment process on course, says Oyo government. Banks in frantic move to put recapitalization plans on course. Jonathan Abdulsalami others to discuss state police at House Dialogue. And lastly, on the front page of the Nation, $1.7 billion traded in 1 week on Forex window. Naira records gains. We take a look at the Punch newspaper. The Punch is leading with Emefiele's social programs. Banks withhold 530 billion naira CBN funds. Cardoso may order refund. Right, it says Access Bank, GTB, FCMB, 6 others keep unused funds. SMEs seek fresh loans. NFIU and NISA to tackle anchor borrowers loan defaulters. CBN rules out intervention. We can see a photo story showing a federal government rolls out 2,700 CNG buses, tricycles, May 18. Motorist residents stranded as flood overruns Lagos Ogun roads. Choir shot abattoir to probe poisonous meat allegation. Outrage over discrimination against Nigerians at Abuja Chinese supermarket. Stories above. Equity markets suffers a 1.6 trillion naira loss in 1 week. Army vows revenge after terrorists kill 6 soldiers. Federal government probes a $500 million local content loans project. And lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have Ondo polls. Akinteriwa, others protesters. Aida Tiwa wins ABC ticket. And that's how we can take on the front pages of the papers. Join us after the break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining me, still today in the news on Vanguard Live, I am Precious Chukudi. Joining to talk about some of the stories on the front pages of the papers this morning is Mr. Ali Mohammed, CEO of Magnet Communications, also former editor of Daily Times and Concord newspapers. Good to have you join me this morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And you, sir?
I'm very well. I'm surviving. It's a very tough environment.
I'm telling you, extremely tough.
There is no light, no water.
But
the rain that fell yesterday was a big relief.
It was. It brought some calmness to the heat and all of that. All right, let's delve in. And of course, manufacturers of consumer goods are, counting their losses to a high cost of raw materials due to inflation and exchange rate volatility. And it looks like the prices will keep, of goods will continue to go high in the coming months, despite the positive trends you're seeing with the exchange rates. What are your thoughts?
The truth of the matter is that, like we all know, whatever goes up in Nigeria doesn't go down, no matter the dictates of the market forces, no matter whether the naira that rose astronomically has fallen. People would want to continue to enjoy what they were enjoying when there was this sudden dollar rise. But it is sad. I'm talking seriously now. You discover that the price of a lot of things that were attached to the fact that the dollar was rising are still very much high, despite the fact that the dollar has crashed in recent times. I think it is wrong. It is unacceptable. When dollar was 1,500, if you go to the market to buy rice, they will say rice is now 95,000. Why? Dollar. Now the dollar has crashed. Things that their prices went up during the high cost of dollar have refused to come down. To me, what Nigerians do to themselves is more criminal than what the market forces is doing. Because the truth of the matter is that some people are just there to make money, not minding the situation of things in the country, not minding whether they are making life inconvenient for people, whether they are making things living difficult for people. They don't care, and it is unfortunate. We must all come together. If we say we want a great nation, we must all come together. It is not only Tinubu that will make Nigeria great. We have our own contributions to make as citizens. It is a two-way thing. The government have its own responsibilities. The citizens too have their own responsibilities. People keep sitting down to abuse the government, that government is not doing this, government is not doing that. Look at what has happened. The rate of the dollar has come down now. Yet, prices of things that were affected by the dollar have refused to come down. How do you explain that? Do you attribute that to market forces again, or human greed? Look at the cost of food, for instance. The woman selling garri, producing garri, bringing it from Ijebu-Ode, garri Ijebu from Ijebu-Ode to Lagos, will attribute the high cost of her garri to the high rate of dollar. Do you produce garri with dollars or with imported equipment? No. You have cassava in your farm and you are producing. The only additional charges to me is the high cost of transportation. If you tell me that, look, the cost of transportation is high, yes, it is acceptable to me. But that you attribute the high cost of garri to dollar, to me, it looks stupid. It is unacceptable. It is greed. So we as a people have a role to play in making this country good. What individuals do to themselves is worse than what the government is doing to us. I must tell you that. I went to a spare part shop, some very tiny thing that we used to buy for about 4,000. We priced it, said no, 25,000. It is now 25,000. If we were so stupid to have accepted the price, we would have fallen for the antics of a greedy man. We had to go to about 2 or 3 shops before we got that thing for 7,000. It shows how wicked, how greedy some of us are. We don't want this very tight economic situation to go down. All we want is just to make money to the disadvantage of a lot of Nigerians. So we have a role to play as citizens, while the government have its role to play. This artificial rise in prices, to me, is caused by us, not by government anymore.
266 billion naira losses in 1 year is a lot. And what ways do you think that the government can actually alleviate the pressures of, losses in the manufacturing system?
The number one cause of losses is power. You know how much diesel was some months back? 1,500, 1,600. A drum of diesel was in thousands of naira. One drum of, 25 or 30 liters. That's a lot of money. One major cause of these losses is power. Tell me in which sector of Nigerian economy can ignore power. Power is needed in almost all, not even almost all, in all manufacturing setups. But unfortunately, we don't have adequate power. In fact, almost none. In my area that has been classified as, I don't know, area D or G, or I don't know, we've not had power for almost 1 month. They'll bring it at night for 1 hour and take it away. You have to run on them. Even if you are on 500,000 naira salary and you have to buy petrol every day, you don't know how much it costs to buy a liter of petrol now. If you have to buy diesel to power your generator, you know how much that is not adding to your income. It is taking a lot away from you. It is the same thing with the manufacturing companies. All the profits that they should have made have been taken away by the purchase of diesel, low fuel oil. In the aviation sector, it is the same thing. There is no aviation fuel. The price of aviation fuel has gone up drastically, so much so that to go from Lagos to Abuja now and come back, you need 400,000, which shouldn't be. So we need to get it right in the energy sector. We need to get it right and then ensure that the country moves forward. Because if, like I said here last week, if you travel abroad and you are landing in most of these countries, you see lights and you are excited that you are landing in a beautiful country. But you come into Lagos, you can't see the beauty of Lagos, because if it is very early in the morning, everywhere is so dark, will be so dark.
Just reminded me of, sorry to chip in. Yeah. It reminds me of when we spoke to someone in the course of the week when we went to the rounds, and the man was saying since she's been born up till now, she has never seen light. It's been a constant issue.
Yes, you see, it may just be a fact. Do you know the number of years that we've been battling with power? It's the children that were born in those years, they were born into shouting up NEPA. They have also given birth to children now that are shouting up NEPA once they bring light. You can imagine the length of years that we've been going through terrible agony. I feel sad anytime I'm flying into Nigeria from any part of the world, and you get to Lagos, you see darkness. You get to Abuja, you see darkness. It's not projecting the image of this country as a progressive and developing country. We are the giant of Africa. Maybe on the paper, but in reality, we are not behaving like the giants of Africa. Go to Ghana. You fly into Ghana at night. Rwanda. Fly into Rwanda very early in the morning. You see the brightness, the beauty of the country, the city of Rwanda. You see how beautiful it is. But you are flying into Nigeria. You are bringing in investors, and you are with them, and everywhere is dark. There was a time I brought people from Spain, and we were going to go to Benin for their waste recycling project. I told them we should fly into Benin. They said, no, we want to get to know Nigeria. I said, okay, fine. We put vehicles on the road. Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, then, before it was repaired now, it was like bumpy here and there. And they said, what is happening? I said, no, this is a war relic that we are trying to reconstruct the road. Because how will I explain to them that my government has neglected all these roads over the years? I just simply saved myself that explanation. I told them that the road was a war relic, that we were just planning on how to ensure that the roads are. It mean you had a war in Nigeria? Yes. I said yes. We had a civil war in Nigeria because I was not ready for a very long discussion. In the process, you have to run down your government, you have to run down your country. I wasn't ready for that. I was going to protect the image of the country so that the things that they came here to do can sail so smoothly. It was when we got to the stage of costing that we started adding generators to the budget. So why you mean you need so much for generators? You don't have light in your country? I said, no, that we don't have light, but we may need them as backup. It tells you the kind of explanation, the processes you have to go through if you are bringing in foreigners to come and work in Nigeria. For that single reason, they refuse to come here. I have been a victim of that power failure in Nigeria. So we have to get it right. And I must register my displeasure at the daily collapse of what do they call it, transmission, whatever. I don't know what the energy generation collapses as if it is like a pack of cards. It is embarrassing. We have to sit down and get it seriously and ensure that all the companies that we have in Nigeria are producing and at the rate of 50%, because you need to produce at least 50% capacity to be able to make some level of profit. If you produce below 50%, you are not doing anything. Most of those companies are just going to Ghana and even to Republic of Benin, very close to us. Leonard's, Bata, a lot of them are there. What have we done wrong as a country that we can't have constant power supply? We should get it right, for God's sake.
All right, food inflation is about 4% high. What remedial action do you think we should be looking at?
We've always talked about food inflation. The problem we have with food inflation is banditry. People can't go to the farms anymore. You go there, you get kidnapped, and may God help you if you are not killed. You have to look for ransom. A lot of people don't go to the farm again. People are scared of going to the farm because of these attacks by bandits and Boko Haram members who are in every part of the country. Even in my place of birth, in Edo State, I have people who have stopped going to the farm, and they keep putting pressure on us that you have to send us something, we can't go to the farm again. So once we have that problem, then there will be high cost of food. Nigeria should not be an importer of food. We should be self-sufficient in the production of food. Talking about yam, we have a lot of yam coming from Benue State, Abuja axis. But people can't go to their farms anymore because of kidnapping and harassment but by bandits. So government must ensure that there is adequate security for farmers. If we don't get them secured, the situation may get worse in the coming days. A farmer that used to have a large acreage of cassava, pineapple orchard, pawpaw and all that suddenly find himself staying at home because the entire farm has been overrun by bandits who brought their cows to come and graze within the precincts of his farm. And he is helpless. Government is helpless. Government can't come to his rescue. Apart from the fact that the man himself will become jobless, all the products of his farm would have been ruined. There is no sense in that. We must sit down and go to the root cause of food scarcity in the country. These acts contribute immensely to the scarcity of food that we have in Nigeria today.
All right, let's move ahead and talk about this one. Now, the federal government is set to receive around $2.2 billion from the World Bank. And I mean, it's one thing to receive loans, it's another thing to ensure that, you know, what these loans are being given for, they are actually used for the right reasons. What are your thoughts?
I think, Precious, I don't want to be predictive, but I want to appeal that whatever loan that comes in at this time should be judiciously used. We must not turn Nigeria to a country that is dependent on even lesser countries than Nigeria. Because if you are not careful, we may get to that stage. We don't have power, there is food scarcity. If you don't have power and your people cannot feed, what is left? You need to be okay as a human being, to contribute to make your little contributions to the growth of your country. You need to be stable. I mean, when I talk about stability, ability to feed yourself, ability to take care of yourself, it brings out the best in you. You can now look at what you can contribute to the development of the country. If we don't have that situation, it will be difficult to have dedicated and committed Nigerians who are ready to put in their best for the development of this country.
All right, let's move on. And of course, we saw the Ondo primary APC primary elections, and you know some agreed members of the APC, you know, stormed the party secretariat to protest the conduct of the elections, and also they've called for the suspension of the chairman of the election committee, that's Governor Ahmed Ondo of Kogi State. They accused him of, you know, conducting a flawed exercise. What's your take on, you know, the APC primaries?
Like I said off camera, there must be a protest after every contest. In Nigeria, there must be a protest after every contest. Because if I sit down and look at the situation in Ondo State, the contestants, a lot of them have what I call image and reputation problems. You know, and unfortunately they didn't attempt to resolve all those ones before going into that contest. So the only person that stand and have great opportunity of winning in that contest is the governor of the state. And the man has won. Expectedly, we have protests at the end of the contest. So we must learn to accept defeat. You cannot win every day. Only a fool would think he can win every day. Somebody won election into the Senate and he feels that I have won election into the Senate, I want to be governor, and you lost and you are shouting. Meanwhile, you have image and reputation problem as a human being, as an investor, as a company owner. You have a reputation problem. You will refuse to resolve that. And somebody, you contested with somebody who is in office, who is the sitting governor of the state, and you think you can win. It is not possible. So we should accept, we should be grateful enough to accept defeat, especially once such a defeat is so clear and to the ordinary person it is incontestable. So we should be able to accept defeat. I assess myself a lot I do a lot of self-assessment. And if I am going into a contest, I should be able to tell myself if I could win in a free and fair contest. Not going there to spend over 100 million naira thinking that people will vote for it. They just collect your money and go. Nigerian voters are now educated. They have shined their eyes and they know what to do to politicians with such image and reputation problems. They just collect your money and vote for the people they want. And that is exactly what happened in the case of Ondo APC primary. So I want to appeal to those who lost to accept defeat and try another day.
All right, moving on. Okuama-Ewu people have reviewed the names of 11 persons reportedly shot by the Nigerian army, and they also instituted a fresh 151 billion naira suit against the federal government, the police, and the army. And they listed about 413 houses, 7 churches, shrine allegedly destroyed by the soldiers. How do you react to this suit?
You see, one thing that villagers like the Okuama people should do anytime they wake up is to pray against trouble, especially to get into trouble with soldiers. All over the world, you can't kill a soldier and go scot-free. It is not that I'm justifying what the soldiers have done there. It is the normal thing. Whatever it is they are doing now, going to court and all that, will not achieve anything. We've had the case of Zaki Biam. The place that was leveled, Odi, in the east. What came out of it? Nothing. You see, community leaders should sit down and educate their youths against taking the laws into their hands at times of crisis. I know that it is difficult to control the youths of nowadays because a lot of them are usually under the influence of drugs, alcohol, and many illicit drinks and food. But their leaders should ensure that they are put under control to avoid the situation like we had in Okuama. When it happened, I knew how it will end. It is either the entire village will be razed down and a lot of people will be killed, and that is what has happened. With all sense of responsibilities, I sympathize with them, but I insist that all village heads, all leaders should try as much as possible to check their youths against taking the law into their hands. They are not policemen. If there is a situation that needs the intervention of security agents, the leaders should invite security agents at the level of the police. They shouldn't allow situations in their communities degenerate to a level that soldiers will have to be calling. If you call a soldier to come and quell a very bad situation, you must expect to have casualties, because soldiers, they are not there to sit down and talk to you. All they know is to shoot and kill. That is the way they are trained. It is only when you have policemen that you can have that leverage of security agents sitting with you, discussing with you, give you options to achieve peace, maybe make a little arrest and detention, and the people arrested will be released once they observe that calm has returned to the troubled area. But if it gets to a situation that soldiers are invited, then the people of that area must be careful. Don't kill soldiers. Not even one of them. Not to talk of how many soldiers were killed. Was it 13 or 17 soldiers? That was too much. I detest violence in any way as a person. And so I will never support the shedding of a human blood, either that of a soldier or that of any member of a community. I detest it. But in the situation that we have in Okuama, a lot of recklessness have been observed. I must tell you the truth. You don't attack soldiers. If those soldiers had come to fight immediately, they will wait for 70 of them to be killed. They would have leveled the village, but apparently they came to maintain the peace. They got attacked, and now they have retaliated. Look at what has happened. So, as far as I'm concerned, this legal action may just be a test case for them, but I don't see them. Is it the lives of those that have been killed that the legal action will bring back, or they are expecting compensation from government? Which government? A government that directed that the place should be leveled. So I wish them good luck in the court case.
All right, let's take a look at Mr. and Mrs. And Mrs. is speaking. She says, each time I look at the dark sky at night, I feel like touching a star. And Mr. responds and says, what if I made you touch a wad of crisp new Naira notes? And she says, I will hug a star like I'm doing now. And she calls me Mr.
Women and money, God will deliver them. I will say more than that.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Ali Mohammed, CEO of Magnet Communications, also former editor of Daily Times and Concord Newspaper. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us this morning. Also, remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. To find up-to-date stories, go to our website www.vanguardindia.com to find out more. I am Precious Chukudi.